Oh, I need to come up with a better intro to these things. What is up? My name is Coach Adam and I am here today to talk just a little bit about tires and wheels. So before I get started, if you would like to go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, or if you don't agree with what I'm talking about or just don't like the way my face looks, you can go ahead and dislike, because that's good too, because engagement's engagement. It works for the algorithm of YouTube. Anywho, back to the topic. I've been in the bike industry for a long time now, longer than I really wish to say, and there are three basic types of tires out there. Granted, you can make an argument there's only two, you can make an argument there's four, I can even make an argument for five, but these are basics today. So let's start with the kind of OG style, and I say OG because it's not necessarily the original type of tire and wheel combination, but it's what's been used in competitive cycling for a long time now, and that is the tubular. So the tubular tire, a tubular tire looks just like this, and what is unique about it, or kind of why it's called a tubular, is it is one piece, and the tube itself is sewn into the tire. So single piece, wraps all the way around, tubes inside, one single unit. The tubular rim looks like this. So if you look at the top of the rim itself, I'm going to go ahead and call this the rim bed because that's what I've called it forever at this point, but it's going to be concave because you glue the tire onto the rim bed itself, and that is how it stays on there. One of the very nice things about a tubular is it doesn't matter what width tire you use. When you get into clinchers and stuff, which we'll look at in just a moment, you have to worry about the width of the tire compared to the width of the rim. Tubulars do not have that issue in the least bit. But they're a little trickier because you glue them on, so if you get a flat, it's not the best situation because you have to tear one off and glue one on. Glue has to cure, and it takes time. But very nice ride. If you ever get a chance to ride a set, try them out. Good times. Next one is the clincher tire. And a clincher tire looks very much like a tubular tire. This is actually the same tires I just showed in that tubular, but the clincher version. So the clincher, which is what many people are more accustomed to these days, the tire is basically an open tubular. If you wrapped it together and sewed it, it would look just like a tubular, but they split it in half and they put two sides on it that you can feel it raise, and that is the bead that hooks onto the rim. And what it hooks onto on that rim is right here. So this is a typical clincher. You can see the rim bed itself is going to be pretty much flat. This one's a little concave. You can find some that are convex, but generally flat. And then on the sides of that, you have the sidewall. And the sidewall itself, you can't really see it here, but many of them are going to have a hook for that bead of the tire to grip onto to hold on there. Granted, there are many mountain bike wheels nowadays and some gravel wheels also that aren't going to have that hook on the sidewall for gripping, but once again, I'm trying to keep it nice and simple, not being very confusing, even though I tend to be that way. So, that is the clincher. And the third style is going to be the tubeless. The tubeless, the tire, pretty much indistinguishable from the clincher tire. The only difference is they're going to have a little bit different way they seal the bead itself on the side. They'll usually use a butyl rubber to help it hold air. But what's different is the rim itself. You can see the rim bed is not flat. It is modified a little more to help that bead pop up a little higher, so it's really tight between the rim bed and that hook to give it that airtight seal. Once again, the difference between these two, the clincher and the tubeless, is the tubeless doesn't have a tube, while a clincher and a tubular do have a tube. Nice thing about this, you don't have to worry about pinch flats. You also don't have to worry about using tubes really, unless you're out on the road and you flat, in which case the nice thing is a tubeless can become a clincher, but not every clincher can become a tubeless. So those are some basics about that. A couple things I personally like to look for or look at when I'm looking at getting a tire are, I guess one of the biggest things to me, especially looking at a race tire, is going to be the TPI, which is the threads per inch, which is the thread count. It sounds a lot like how you buy sheets, and it's very similar to that. Basically, the way a tire is made is the very base of it is called the casing, and the casing is made up of some sort of fabric. In modern society, it's usually nylon. In higher end tires, you'll find cotton, and in super high end tires, you're going to find silk. And just like sheets, the higher the thread count, the more expensive the tire and the more supple the tire. The nice thing about a supple tire is it conforms to the road more, so it gives better grip. It also is more resistant to puncturing with a higher thread count too, because it can conform to things on the road a little better. So cracks, thorns, gravel, that kind of stuff. But none of that is foolproof. The other thing I like to look at is the durometer of the tire. Durometer simply refers to the hardness of the rubber itself. The way you can think about it, a very low durometer is a gummy bear. Very soft. A high durometer is going to be like a hockey puck, which is very hard. So, tires, depending on what you're looking at getting out of them, is what you want to look at with durometers a little bit. If you want a very long-lasting, good training tire, a high durometer works very well because it's harder, it lasts a lot longer. If you want a nice sticky race tire, if you're doing crits and things like that, or a very turny course, a lower durometer is nice because that's going to stick a little better, but it will wear out faster. You'll see many tires nowadays are going to have mixed durometers, where it's going to have a higher durometer down the center so it wears better, and then a softer durometer towards the sides so it grips a little better going into corners. And that is a quick little overview of tires. But since I have you, and since I just like to hear myself talk so much, I will share with you a little story that I do not actually know is true or not. Anywho, so the lore of bikes and the lore of road bikes and road racing itself, one thing I've heard from a couple different people over the years is the whole reason why it's called 700C. The 700 doesn't refer to anything really when you look at the tire. It doesn't refer to the diameter, it doesn't refer to the area of the wheel. It comes down to way back in the day, let's call it like the 1950s and such, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later, racers had to have one single diameter for their wheel they're racing on. So no matter how high volume of tire they use, every wheel and tire system had to be the same diameter. So what they did, if they were doing a very bumpy course where they wanted a higher volume tire, they had to use a smaller wheel with a fatter tire, and if they were racing on the track or something very smooth, they had to use a very narrow tire with a larger wheel. So C comes from, that was the third version of it. There was the 700A, 700B, 700C, 700D. And as the number goes up, the tire got skinnier. So if you ever see a 700A tire, it almost looks like a mountain bike tire. And if you ever come across a 700D, it is a very, very narrow little guy. So, fun facts that I throw out there. Not sure how to end a video. I guess I can come back to saying, if you would please like and subscribe, or dislike. Once again, I don't care that much. But what you can do, if you want to hear me talk about other things I might know about, throw it down in the comments. Also, if you want me to deep dive into stuff, throw that down in the comments. Or just say how pleasant I am. You can put that too. Don't have a good way to end videos yet, so I'll do my normal kind of just a thumbs up right here, and maybe I'll bring another one up.